Good afternoon, dear children. How are you today? Сәлеметсіздер ме, балалар? Қалдарың қалай? Здравствуйте, ребята. Как ваши дела? The theme of our lesson is Great Expectation 2. Бүгінгі біздің сабақ тақырыбымыз зор үміт. Екінші бөлім. Тема нашего урока называется Большие ожидания. Часть вторая. Let's learn new words. Кәне, жаңа сөздерді жаттап алайық. Давайте учить новые слова. Veil, бетперде, вуаль. Bride, қалыңдық, невеста. Withered, кеуіп кеткен, высохший. Weak, әлсіз, слабый. Dust, шаң, пыль. Tablecloth, дастархан, скатерть. Cobwebs, құрым, паутина. Stick, таяқ, палка. Fungus, саңырауқұлақ, грибы. Reading, оқылым, чтение. She was dressed in rich materials, all of white. Her shoes were white. She had a long white veil hanging from her hair, and she had bridal flowers in her hair. But her hair was white. She wore some bright jewels on her neck and on her hands, and other jewels lay shining on the table. They had not quite finished dressing, for she was wearing only one shoe. The other was on the table near her hand. Her veil was only half arranged. Her watch was still lying next to the mirror, with her gloves and some flowers. Then I began to see that all the things that should be white had been white long ago. They had lost their shine and were faded and yellow. I would that the bride in the bridal dress was withered, like the flowers, and only her eyes were still bright. The dress had been put on the rounded figure of a young woman, but it now hung loose on a body that had shrunk to skin and bone. "Who is it?" said the lady at the table. "Pip, ma'am. I'm Miss Havisham. Come nearer, boy. Let me look at you. Come close." It was when I stood near her, not wanting to look at her eyes, that I saw that her watch had stopped at 20 to 9. A clock in the room had also stopped at 20 to 9. "Look at me," said Miss Havisham. "You aren't afraid of a woman who has never seen the sun since you were born?" "No," I answered, but I wasn't sure. "Do you know what I'm touching here?" she said, putting her hands on the other hand on her left side. "Yes, ma'am. But am I touching your heart?" "Broken." She said the word with a weird smile that seemed almost proud. She kept her hands there for a little while, and then slowly took them away as if they were heavy. "Go into that room," she said, pointing at the door behind me with her withered hand, "and wait there until I come." I entered the room slowly. Here, too, the daylight was completely shut out, and the room had an airless smell. There was a fire in the old-fashioned fireplace, but it didn't want to burn, and the smoke that hung in the room seemed colder than the clear air. Some wintry branches of candles on the wall shone a weak light into the darkness of the room. It had probably once been beautiful, but everything in it was covered with dust and it was falling apart. There was a long table with a tablecloth on it, as if a big meal was being prepared when the house and the clocks all stopped. A large object stood in the center of the table, so heavily covered in cobwebs that I couldn't see its shapes. It seemed to grow out of the yellow cloth like a black fungus, and I saw spiders with fat bodies running out of it and running home to it. It was watching these creatures from a distance when Miss Havisham put her hand on my shoulder. In her other hand she had a stick which she was leaning on, and she looked like a witch from my storybooks. "What do you think that is?" she asked me, pointing with her stick. "That where those cobwebs are?" "I can't guess what it is, ma'am." "It's a great cake, a wedding cake. Mine." Exercise number 1. Find the underlined words in the text, then match them with their meanings. Бірінші жаттығу. Мәтіндегі асты сызылған сөздерді тауып, мына түсініктемелермен сәйкестендіреміз. В упражнении номер 1 берем слова с текста, подчеркнутые которые, и соединяем с объяснениями. Homework. When you come to a new word, you can often guess its meaning. Look at the whole sentence and at the other sentence around it. Think about the type of word. Когда ты увидишь новые слова, давай разберем эти слова. Какого типа это слова? Эти слова. Is it a noun? Is it a verb? Is it an adjective? Is the word similar to other words you know? Эти слова существительные, прилагательные, глаголы или слова, которые ты знаешь. Үй тапсырмасы. Мәтіндегі жаңа сөздерді аламыз және оның сипаттама береміз. Ол сөз зат есім бе, сын есім бе, етістік пе, әлде сен білетін сөздер ме?